Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. Now I've gotten a lot of requests over the years, but the ones that excite me the most are the ones asking that I redo older episodes. I mean, let's be real, early Nova is rough. Like, rough. The one where I try my hand at talking about card art has a huge audio foible right in the middle. I was not at the top of my game. And of those videos, it's the Deskbot one that people are most keen to see. Heck, some people think that video doesn't even exist. And well, I feel like that video exists, but yeah, it's definitely more focused on how Deskbots can up your game from a beginner to intermediate level, and doesn't really follow the tried and true formula we know and love today. And you know what, it has been a while since we checked in on the Orbital Platform crew, so let's go over the stationary, see how all these little gizmos fit together, then see what other fantastic friends we can bring on board. It's time to desk the halls with Deskbots. But before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy what I do. Once we get to 50k, we'll be doing our next 5Ds video on Akiza, and every sub helps. Also, check out my Discord where we got a really cool friend that just showed up, and my Twitch where you can watch me put all my lessons to the test live. And if you want to go that extra mile, join my Patreon where you can get my videos early, help us reach these video milestones, and become part of the credits like these lovely people. Thank you all so much for watching, and now, back to the video. So, what's the deal with Deskbots? Well, they're a series of Earth machine monsters with 500 attack and defense. This stat spread, along with some actually explicit effects, makes them great all-purpose support for machine decks, finding home among various Earth machine lists, Gizmex, and for a time, headlined one of the strongest combos the game had ever seen. Until Crystron Halqifibrax and Mecha Phantom Beast Rorodon got banned, one's been in the hangar ever since trying to get those two back online. Says they missed the thrill of competition. Speaking of which, that's a great place to start. Deskbot 1 is a level 1 tuner monster that gains 500 attack for each machine monster you control, even itself. And if 2 or more machine monsters are special summoned at the same time while this card is in your grave, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card. Now, this effect is frighteningly powerful, and can be triggered in a number of ways, one of my favorite being machine duplication. A famously powerful enabler, not only does this have the ability to swarm the field with the tiny Tinker toy of your choice, it'll also get you a free Deskbot 1 from your grave to sync with, or to use as a beater because your duplication target, plus its 2 clones and 1, means you have a 2500 attack monster on your hands, which is just one of the many ways Deskbots can steal games out of nowhere. You can even trigger multiple ones in your grave if you have them in there and meet that trigger. But if you played any time in the last year or so, you'll be familiar with this as a major component in a big synchro play by way of Mecha Phantom Beast Aurorodon, being revived whenever you summon the 3 Mecha Phantom Beast tokens. Because when I think animal-themed aircraft with holographic decoys, I think mechanical pencils. Most people underestimate the power of good logistics, and nothing fills out forms quite like a good 0.5mm graphite refill. Oh, not 0.7? 0.7 is a sin to stationary, and I will not hear an argument to the contrary. Right. Well, long as we're going over the Deskbots, I might as well formally introduce you to the ones that help keep the Orbital Platform running smoothly. One here is the big sibling of the bunch, and basically coordinates everything that goes on around here. They're even equipped with a voice synthesizer to fill in for my voiceovers whenever I'm off on channel lore-related escapades. Speaking of which, when is the next Nova lore chapter coming out? Hush my child, I'm working on it. Next, it's time for Deskbot 2, a level 2 monster that buffs all other machine monsters you control by 500 attack and defense. And if special summoned, you can add a Deskbot card from your deck to your hand. Remember when I mentioned machine duplication? Well, it's especially strong in our deck because, without any boosts, any of our Deskbots can be used with that card. But by far, 2 is the best one. Put them together and you get 3 level 2 monsters, 2 searches if you had to normal summon the first one, and a static 1500 point boost to all of our other machine monsters in play. Heck, even the 2s clock in at 1500 each, because while they don't benefit from their own boost, they can certainly piggyback off the other ones. From there, all kinds of things are possible. You've got rank 2 access, a nifty amount of link material to make cards like Platinum Gadget or Clifford Genius, or you can just beat face with a bunch of machines. That's super valid. And don't forget that I'm cute as a button. You sure are. 2 also acts as our station's requisition officer. With a little help, they can find just about anything. as long as it's, stationary. Things like pencils, paper, tiny pocket calculators, basically anything you could find in a back-to-school sale.
I'm proud to say that our station's primary reactor is made out of a very tasteful box of gel markers.
Horrifying! Next up is Deskbot 3, a level 3 monster that, when normal summoned, can special summon any Deskbot monster from your deck except a copy of itself. And as a quick effect, 3 can target a Deskbot monster you control, and it gains 500 attack and defense for each Deskbot card you control at time of resolution until the end phase. This can lead to some massive boosts, especially because it counts cards, not just monsters, so the more support you have on board, the better. And because it's a quick effect, you can even wait until the last second, right in the middle of the damage step, to spring it on your opponent. Its first effect is also fantastic, basically acting as a tour guide of the underworld for the theme. We've got some fairly high-leveled monsters, so not only does this let us toolbox our options, it also bypasses a lot of hassle we normally have to deal with. It's also a great enabler for Deskbot 2, as that will trigger its search. But if you know 3 for anything, it's for their involvement in the Auroradon combo, as you can summon 1 with that effect to make Crystron Halqifibrax, because 1 is a tuner, to get the whole process started.
What can I say? My calculations exceeded even my expectations. This'll teach those snobby max rarity duelists to underestimate the power of the protractor.
And here they are, Deskbot 3, our master tactician and number cruncher. Even among computers, they're one of the best mathematicians we've got.
I assure you, you're too kind. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to quintuple check our trajectory to ensure we aren't suffering any orbital decay.
Sounds good, buddy. Next up, Deskbot 4, a level 4 monster who, if they battle an opponent's monster during damage calculation on either player's turn, you can have them activate an effect where your opponent takes no battle damage for the rest of the turn. Also, you send a Deskbot monster from your deck to the grave except a copy of itself, and if you do, this card gains attack and defense equal to the sent monster's level times 500 during damage calculation only, and you can do this once per battle. And if Deskbot 4 destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon 2 Deskbot monsters with different levels from your hand and/or grave in defense position. This makes 4 one of our strongest monsters, both in terms of dealing with big threats and enabling our strategy. With their own effect, 4 can reach up to 5,000 attack, and that's disregarding any other boosts. In fact, despite how large they can get without any, you really want to stack as many attack buffs onto 4 without using their first effect, because if you can run over monsters without needing to, you can still maintain that ability to summon your monsters and do battle damage. And it even sets up its own revival ability by tossing cards into the grave. Just be careful when it comes to interactions with number 1, because while it might seem like they have some of the best synergy ever, summon 2 Deskbots simultaneously with 4, then triggering 1 as a bonus, 1's revival effect can't actually trigger during the damage step. So unless you use 4 to actually select 1 as a revival target, you're gonna have to find a different multi-summon effect, which is honestly kind of frustrating. If I had any complaints about the theme, it's that it has such a big non-bow baked right in that newer players are really gonna get tripped up on. Though I guess I do appreciate the opportunity for a teaching moment.
Yeah, I don't know, Deskbot 1 and I don't really, vibe super well. I think it's cause he's so, analytical. He's gotta learn to loosen up and, feel the flow.
And right on time, the station's resident therapist, Deskbot 4. It might seem weird to have a robot therapist, but all the Deskbots have developing consciousnesses, and 4 has already shown a huge aptitude for empathy, so he's in charge of walking them all through their emerging awarenesses.
Yeah, and sometimes when Deskbot 2 comes through with a supply drop, we do a little finger painting on the weekends. Really helps convey the chaos of our neural networks through the pigments.
Next up, we have Deskbot 5, and this is where things take a bit of a turn, because they're a level 5 pendulum monster with a scale of 10. So you know that whole thing about 1 getting summoned from the grave if you summon multiple machines at once? Well, even though it can trigger off of other things, this is what it's all been leading up to. Because if you perform a big pendulum summon, you also basically get to pendulum summon 1 right out of your grave alongside him. And because of the repeatability of pendulum monsters, you get a huge swath of material for extra deck summons, especially synchros. But don't get too excited, this is one of the very early pendulum cards, so while it's got a huge scale, it does have a persistent effect that keeps you from pendulum summoning monsters, except Deskbot ones, while you control this card, and the effect can't be negated, so there's no clever workarounds outside of just destroying this card, though that's not entirely without merit. And get used to that, because you're going to be seeing this on all the Deskbot pendulums moving forward. They didn't even give it an extra effect in scale to balance it out, which is kinda lame. But it's still a doozy of a card. If normal or special summoned, you can target a spell or trap card on the field and destroy it. This card gains 500 attack for each face-up Deskbot monster in your extra deck, and if this card in the Pendulum Zone is destroyed, you can target a Deskbot monster in your grave and special summon it. So you know that thing I said where 3 was kind of a toolbox? Well, this is part of it, as you can now access an MST. This can be used to pop pesky back row, or even pop your own Deskbot 5 in scale to get a monster reborn. And you're also encouraged to do this since it gets stronger for every Deskbot that takes up residence in the face-up extra deck.
And don't you forget I also hold the record for fastest tape tie in the West.
Right, how could I forget? I still have the adhesive burns. 5 is our containment specialist. If anything gets out of hand, they're sent out to tape them down.
Yep, got Vector all wrapped up in the brig to keep him under control. Hey, speaking of which, when's the next Nova lore chapter coming?
I'm working on it! Anyway, Deskbot 6 is a level 6 pendulum monster with a scale of 1, and if normal or special summoned, you can target a monster on the field and change its battle position. 6 also gains 500 attack for each Deskbot monster in your face-up extra deck, and if this card in the Pendulum Zone is destroyed, you can target a Deskbot card in your grave and add it to your hand. So not quite as explosive as 5, but this can get you back cards as well. Or, rather, card. We don't actually have a lot of non-monster cards, but this does give you a way to recycle that, and gives you a way to push for more damage using 4. It's forced to summon monsters in defense position, but if one of those monsters is 6, you can have its effect change one of them to attack position to keep on swinging.
Of course, no obstacle can get in the way of us Deskbots fighting for what we believe in, like justice!
Ah, good old 6. They're our ranged combat expert, able to hit a bullseye with a rubber band a mile away. They're also my preferred material for when I have to go full Vendread.
Yes, and I cannot stress just how wonderful it is that I can delete my own memories, because my logs say that process is excruciatingly painful.
Very sorry about that. Next we have Deskbot 7, a level 7 pendulum monster with a scale of 10. It gains 500 attack for each Deskbot card you have in your grave, deals piercing battle damage, and while on the field, monsters your opponent controls can't target face-up Deskbot monsters for attacks, except this one. Now this is some real firepower. It's much easier to load your grave with Deskbots than your face-up extra deck, and with its ability to pull aggro, you'll be able to keep your smaller Deskbots safe. For instance, you won't be forced to make a hard decision when your opponent tries to run over 3, making you choose to either keep 3 safe, or give another Deskbot one last push before they get disassembled. And if you manage to get 2 7s on board, then you've set up an attack lock.
Not that I need the help or nothing, ain't nobody got the rocks to beat these scissors.
Hey, spoken like a true close combat expert. In fact, you could say that those weapons really give you an
Don't you f***ing say it. The puns on this guy, swear to God.
Right. So, next we have Deskbot 8, a level 8 pendulum monster with a scale of 1. They also gain 500 attack for each Deskbot card in your grave, can make 2 attacks on monsters each turn, and keeps your opponent from targeting face-up Deskbot cards with card effects while 8 is on the field. And like 7, if you have 2 of them, these effects will overlap to give all of your Deskbot cards targeting protection. So where 7 focuses on dealing with a single target for the most damage, preferably something in defense position with low stats, 8 is better at throwing down with multiple monsters. Though since the extra attack can only be done against monsters, them being in attack position helps in the damage dealing department.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, I guess.
Ah, as aloof as ever I see. Folks, this is Deskbot 8. They're our primary researcher and informant. They're an expert on tracking down and extracting all kinds of data. If you can learn it, 8 probably already knows about it.
Yeah, I know basically all of Nova's passwords. Just PayPal me like $50 and it's all yours.
Okay, that about does it for them. Anyways, next is one of our biggest projects, Deskbot 9, a level 9 monster that is not a pendulum. And once per turn during your main phase 1, you can make this card gain attack equal to the combined attack of all other Deskbot monsters you currently control, except copies of 9, until the end of your opponent's turn. But only this card can attack the turn you activate this effect. If you're familiar with Blackwing Sirocco, it's basically that. And if this card battles, your opponent's cards and effects can't be activated until the end of the damage step. And if this card would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy another Deskbot card you control instead. When it comes to pushing through your opponent's cards, there's no better way to do it than with 9. They can get huge in an instant, shut off any battle tricks, and prevent any kind of floating shenanigans. It's even got its own built-in protection that can trigger the effects of 5 and 6 when destroyed in the Pendulum Zone. Deskbot 9 is the pride and joy of the Deskbot family, and we couldn't be happier with how they turned out. How you feeling, 9? I keep telling y'all I am working on it! Ugh! Okay, next is our very own extra deck monster, Deskbot Jet, a level 10 synchro monster that requires generic material. It gains 500 attack and defense for each Deskbot card on the field, kinda like a persistent version of Deskbot 3's effect, and you can use one of the following effects per turn, and only once per turn. You can target a Deskbot card you control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon a Deskbot monster from your deck, or target a Deskbot card you control and a face-up card on the field, and destroy him. So it's a big monster that's either a scrap dragon, or a way to trade out Deskbots you control for more out of your deck. And considering you have access to the power of Pendulum, they won't be gone for long. It may seem underwhelming at first, but this assault carrier is more than just a paperweight. Just ignore the fact that you can make Baronne de Fleur with the same materials. Our last card is our base of operations. Think of it as an orbital platform away from home. Deskbot Base, a field spell that boosts all Deskbots on the field by 500 attack and defense, even your opponents if that somehow happens. Once per turn, you can reveal any number of Deskbot cards in your hand, shuffle them into the deck, then draw the same number of cards. You can also banish 9 Deskbot cards with different names from your hand and or field, except copies of base, to shuffle all cards from your opponent's hand, field, and grave into the deck. That's basically a win condition all on its own. But here's the thing, it's bait, it's not real. A part of the problem is that it doesn't let you use face-up extra deck cards for this, so any 5s, 6s, 7s, or 8s that are trapped in your extra deck can't be used for this effect. So you either have to Pendulum summon them back out onto the field, which is a lot harder to do nowadays than it was at release, or Foolish them directly into the grave and keep them there. You also banish as cost, so you could end up banishing what amounts to about a quarter of your deck, only to get stopped by a Mystical Space Typhoon. And even if you do pull this off, great, you've gotten rid of basically all your gas. So now you have to assemble lethal before your opponent draws into a 1-card starter. Something that once again is more prevalent than it was when this card was first released. And it honestly wasn't even that good back then. Thankfully though, the rest of the card is pretty nice. I don't like that it essentially shuts off Deskbot 2 and machine duplication plays, so you have to make sure you do that before committing to base, but aside from that, the extra attack boost is a welcome addition, and the ability to mulligan away cards you don't need is a godsend. So, suffice it to say, Deskbot Base here has your back. Pack. Also, is it just me, or does this card have big FA test run vibes? Alright, that's all the Deskbot cards, but what do we do with them? Well, aggro is kind of baked into the design of the set. Everything seems to give you an attack buff or some kind of combat bonus, so we want to swarm the field as fast as possible to overwhelm our opponent. Easy as that. And because of our advantageous typing, we have a lot of friends we can call upon for assistance. So what can we play to help them out? We've already gone over what machine duplication can do for us, but another spell I really like is Urgent Schedule. While their monster effects are negated, you can pull a Deskbot 1 and 9 right out of your deck to immediately make Jet. Or you could go for Baronne. If Auroradon was any indication, we aren't exactly above tapping into off-brand cards if it means we can get the win. You're also not restricted to making level 10 synchros. You could summon a non-tuner from levels 5 to 8 too to make a variety of synchro monsters. Or just link them away for a link too. In fact, if you just need it for link material, consider running Super Express Bullet Train. It can recover one of your Deskbots in the grave, is an easy summon to just put a big body on board, or even overlay with Jet to access some stupid powerful rank 10s. But they're not our only big Earth machine friend. While running the entire Machina engine might be a bit too cramped for our deck, Machina Citadel is a great boss monster for any deck that revolves around Earth machines. Anytime an Earth machine is destroyed, you can just summon it right back out of your grave, which will happen fairly often with us, has a huge body, and has a quick effect Raigeki built right in, that combos very well with our Deskbots. Normally, you're having Citadel destroy itself to reach that 3000 cap, but many of our Deskbots can do that effortlessly. Cyber Dragon is also a very strong contender. Not only does it pair well with Deskbot 5 to make Cyber Dragon Infinity, but you're probably also running the new Clockwork Knight to give your deck a little extra bite. And since your opponent's monsters are all machines because of this, you can scoop them all up to make Fortress Dragon, clearing the way for big damage. And if that fails, you can lean into Overload Fusion to make Chimera Tech Over Dragon as another way to crush your opponent. If we want to stick to Xyz theming though, Infinitracks are the way to go. Brutal Dozer unfortunately locks you into only special summoning Earth machines, but that's our whole thing. It gives us quick and easy access to Infinitrack Riverstormer to search any of our Deskbots, or if you want even more value, you can search Ancient Gear Box, which when added from the deck or grave to the hand, except by drawing, adds any Earth machine monster with either 500 attack or defense from your deck to your hand. I wonder what that sounds like! Alternatively, if you can only make rank 4s, Gear Gigant X does basically the same thing. And with that extra card, you can use it as fuel to activate your Vernisylphs. That's right, they're back again. I keep talking about Earth attribute themes for some reason, and they never stop being good. As a Pendulum deck, we're gonna need some good Link monsters if we want to make the most of them, so it's worth revisiting a few we've already talked about. Platinum Gadget helps get more Deskbots out of your hand, and can even trigger 2's search effect. Clifford Genius is effect negation, which is super radical. You don't even have to worry about negating your own cards, because as much as you would like to, your Pendulum effects can't be negated, but that does mean they still make free targets for the effect negation. It even operates on the same wavelength as Deskbot 1. If you special summon 2 monsters to Genius's link points at the same time, you can add a level 5 or higher machine monster from your deck to your hand. So you get to search one of your big Deskbots and get a chance to revive Deskbot 1. What a deal! Double-headed Anger Knuckle also helps in a couple of ways. If you go the train route, you can use this to revive them for more material, and even if not, it's a revivable monster that gives you a link zone while in the main monster zone, which can be invaluable. As for higher link rating monsters, Appaloosa is of course a great option, providing you with 3 downward pointing arrows and some monster effect negation, something the deck desperately needs. And while they don't give you a lot of arrows, Underworld Goddess of the Closed World might be worth keeping in the extra deck. With all the Deskbots we can summon, we can easily get the material for this on board, and it's just another way to get an opponent's monster off board using unorthodox methods. There's not really any kind of specific protection that keeps monsters from being used as link material, and that's on top of all the cool things Underworld Goddess already does. As for a silly tech pick, Sprite Elf is actually kind of funny here. I cannot stress just how important it is to activate Deskbot 2's search effect as much as possible to complete your setup, and 2 can be used as material to make Elf, which can revive 2 to trigger the effect again. Have I mentioned that 2 isn't once per turn, so you can just keep summoning it to gain advantage? You can even summon it out with Gigantic Sprite, though I don't recommend it. We have a ton of non-level 2 monsters. And bonus, Elf gives the monsters it points to targeting protection to keep your opponent from screwing with your screwdrivers.
Now, I'm not sure if it's my place to do this on Deskbots of all archetypes, but here's an editor's tech pick for you anyway. Sure, Nova did mention this at the very start of the video, but there is a very good reason for that, and that's because Gizmek play incredibly with Deskbots. Keep in mind that every single one of your Deskbots, Jet and all, have equal base attack and defense, making them all valid targets for the Gizmek cards. Inaba can special summon Deskbot 2 out of your hand and let you swim in pluses. Tiny Goku can pull all of your Deskbots out of the grave, Yata nets you an extra normal summon, particularly potent with Deskbot 3, and Makami can search any of your Deskbots, plus any other incidental cards that we can find. Even Sacred Scrolls of the Gizmek Legend can grab Deskbots off the top of your deck, while turning into a conditional Mystic Mine once you ramp enough counters on it. But my favourite card to run in any deck featuring Gizmek is Small World. By using any of the non-Earth Gizmeks as a go-between, Small World will effectively turn any Deskbot in your hand into any other Deskbot in your deck, so long as you don't overlap levels. Not to mention that you can even use Naganaki to scoop up whichever card you banished from your deck. I could go on all day about how much synergy these archetypes have, but I think I've overstayed my welcome here. Play us out, Nova.
And that's all I have to say about Deskbots. They've got spunk and they've got style. I love these little goobers with all my heart, and we're hard at work making the next generation of little buddies. Mark my words, the Deskbot 10X series is right around the corner, and when they get released, we'll be here to welcome them with open arms. Just make sure you don't keep your filters too sensitive on your machines. You wouldn't want to filter out all the Deskbots.
I
That
told
was
you to
bad.
shut the f up about those puns, damn it!
Bad.
I think there was a miscalculation.
Not
You're
quite your
human
best joke,
beings.
my friend.
Oh yeah, that is definitely not a vibe.
But now, I want to hear what you all have to say. Are Deskbots at the desktop, or is there still some assembly required? And if you made it this far, let me know which Deskbot you like best. I haven't had the chance to show off their crew for a while, so it was nice to give them some fresh air. And while you're there, make sure to like this video and subscribe to show your support, ring that bell so you don't miss an episode, and share this video with someone you know who loves Yu-Gi-Oh! It really does a lot to help me out. Today's episode was brought to you by my lovely patrons, including Nebula Navigators, Third Dynasty, Adam Zajdel, Avi Chali, Kane Senpai, Cameron Berg, Chibi Gohan, Eric, Frankie, Genesis Yu-Gi-Oh!, Gloomba331, Great Big Pillock, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Howling Zangetsu, Ironic, John Manji, Julius Sneezer, Larakia, Manacharge, Marluxia is a Girl, Meteornus, Michael Madsen, Mighty Action X, Panther J, Rebel King Lucifer, Rem T Bright, RJ the Jank Monarch, Ruxith Sarani, Sophie, apparently, The Fresh Prince of Conair, The Wizard Moose and Xander Wolfensberger, Cosmic Crusaders Ariel Kersey, Bear Shark Tupo Studios, Chaz Ghost, Chris Kessler, Corbinisms, Emily, Eva Padilla, Herbal D, Jesus Garcia, Kale the Dragon, King Scarlet Yu-Gi-Oh!, Lord Whoop-de-Doo, Manga Pages, Marion James E. Picata, Matt Simmons, Neo Trinity 7, Nitromo, Sarah Lo Sulci, Shaquille Solomon, Shooting Star 3300, Star-Lord 777, Superpurd, Tucker Ordorn and the Legendary Raven, as well as the wonderful Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. I'm only able to continue doing this thanks to the support of these lovely people, so if you'd like to be a part of these credits, help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, and get all my videos just a little bit early, please check out my YouTube membership or Patreon links in the description to see if I have anything you'd like on offer. And if you'd like to see the old first video I made about Deskbots, you can check it out right here. And if you want to see two Yu-Gi-Tubers just going at it, check out Noah Jenk and I's latest series, Progression Polls, where your voice shapes the format. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.